The power dies at midnight. You wake up at 6 a.m. shivering. 6 hours. That's all it took for your house to go from 70 degrees F to 45 degrees F. 6 hours for a structure you paid hundreds of thousands for to betray you completely. And you're confused because houses are supposed to protect you. They have walls, they have roofs, they have insulation somewhere in there, right? So why does your house lose heat faster than a car with the windows down? Let me show you exactly why modern homes are thermal disasters waiting to happen, and why the moment the heater stops, you're living inside an expensive refrigerator. Here's the truth nobody tells you when you buy a house. It's not built to hold heat. It's built to look good and pass code. Those are not the same thing, and the difference becomes brutally clear the second the power fails. Let's start with the physics of heat loss. Heat doesn't stay where you put it. It moves, always, from hot to cold, from inside to outside, and it uses three pathways to escape your house. Conduction. Heat travels through solid materials, through walls, through floors, through ceilings. Your house is made of wood, drywall, concrete, and glass. All of them conduct heat, some worse than others, but all of them are bleeding warmth into the cold night air every single second. Convection. Air moves. Hot air rises, cold air sinks, and every tiny gap in your house creates a current. Warm air escapes through the attic. Cold air rushes in through the basement. Your house is breathing, and every breath costs you heat. Radiation. Your walls, your windows, your roof, they all radiate infrared energy into the void. Even if there's no wind, even if the house is perfectly sealed, heat just radiates away. Into the night, into the cold, into nothing. Now let's talk about why modern houses are so bad at stopping this. Reason 1. Your walls are mostly air gaps. You think your walls are solid. They're not. Standard wall construction is two thin layers with a cavity between them. Exterior siding, a 4-inch gap. Interior drywall. That gap is supposed to have insulation. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's compressed, sometimes it's missing in sections, sometimes it's just settled at the bottom, leaving the top half of your walls completely uninsulated. And here's the kicker. Even if the insulation is perfect, it's only R13 to R15. That's the thermal resistance value. It sounds good until you realize that's only enough to slow heat loss, not stop it. In 30 degrees Fahrenheit weather with no heater, that insulation buys you maybe 2 extra hours before your house matches the outside temperature. 2 hours, that's it. Reason 2, your windows are thermal black holes. Glass is beautiful. Glass is also one of the worst insulators in your entire house. A single pane window has an R value of about 1. 1. That means heat passes through glass almost as fast as it passes through open air. Double pane windows are better, R2 to R3. Still terrible. For comparison, your walls are R13, your windows are R2, which means every square foot of window loses 6 times more heat than every square foot of wall. And modern homes are full of windows. Big windows, floor-to-ceiling windows, windows everywhere because natural light and curb appeal. Every one of them is a heat escape route. Reason 3. Your attic is a chimney. Hot air rises. That's not a suggestion, that's physics. And in your house, hot air rises straight into the attic. The attic is supposed to be insulated, sometimes it is. But even with insulation, the attic is designed to vent. Vents in the soffits, vents in the roof. The whole point is to let air move through so moisture doesn't build up. Great for preventing rot, terrible for keeping heat. Because all that warm air rising from your living space just flows right out those vents into the atmosphere. Gone. Your house is a thermal sieve and the attic is the drain. Reason 4. Air leaks everywhere. Your house is not sealed, not even close. Gaps around windows, gaps around doors, gaps where pipes enter walls, gaps where electrical boxes are installed, gaps in the attic hatch, gaps everywhere. You can't see them, but the air can, and air is sneaky. Cold air finds every crack. It seeps in through the basement, through outlets, through light fixtures, through the space between the baseboards and the floor. And as cold air comes in, warm air is pushed out. Your house is leaking heat like a bucket with 100 tiny holes. You can't see the holes, but you can feel the result. Reason 5.
Concrete floors and basements are heat sinks. If you have a basement or concrete slab foundation, you're losing heat through the ground. The earth is cold, 50 degrees Fahrenheit year-round a few feet down, and concrete conducts heat beautifully. Your warm house sitting on cold concrete is like putting a hot pan on a cold counter. The heat just drains away. Basement walls are even worse. Concrete in direct contact with cold soil. No insulation in most older homes. The basement stays cold, and that cold radiates up through the floor into your living space, chilling everything from the bottom up. Reason 6, your roof is radiating heat into space. This one's invisible, but it's brutal. Your roof is the largest surface of your house exposed to the sky, and at night the sky is cold. Not just air temperature cold, radiatively cold. Your roof radiates infrared energy upward, into the atmosphere, into space, and space is 3 Kelvin. That's negative 270 degrees Celsius. That's colder than anything on Earth. So your roof is bleeding heat into a void that's effectively infinite and infinitely cold. Even with attic insulation, that roof is losing heat, and the attic below it gets colder, and the ceiling below that gets colder, and the heat in your living room rises toward that cold ceiling and escapes.
Reason 7, thermal mass is a double-edged sword. Some houses have thermal mass: brick, stone, concrete walls, tile floors. Thermal mass stores heat. When the sun is shining or the heater is running, those materials absorb warmth and they release it slowly. That's great until the power goes out, because thermal mass works both ways. When the heater stops, those same materials that stored heat now store cold. The walls get cold, the floors get cold, and they radiate that cold into your living space. You're not just losing heat to the outside anymore, you're losing heat to your own house. The structure itself becomes a heat sink. Reason 8, modern homes prioritize efficiency with power, not without it. Here's the thing about energy-efficient homes. They're efficient because they're designed to work with HVAC systems. Tight construction, good insulation, sealed windows, all of that reduces your heating bill, but it assumes the heater is running. When the heater stops, those efficiencies don't save you, because the house was never designed to passively retain heat. It was designed to be climate controlled. The moment the control stops, the climate takes over, and the climate is cold. So why does your house get cold so fast? Because it's a thermal sieve wrapped in a thin shell of barely adequate insulation. Because your windows are heat escape routes. Because your attic vents warmth into the sky. Because air leaks through 100 invisible cracks. Because your concrete foundation is drinking heat from below. Because your roof radiates into the void. Because thermal mass turns against you. And because the whole structure was designed assuming power would never fail. Now let's talk about what actually keeps a house warm without power: thick walls. Old European stone cottages have walls 2 feet thick, not for looks, for thermal mass and insulation. Those walls absorb heat during the day and release it slowly at night. Even without a fire, the house stays livable. Small rooms. Castles had small rooms with high ceilings near fires and tiny rooms everywhere else, because small spaces hold heat. Big open floor plans look modern, but they're thermal nightmares. You can't heat a volume that large with body heat or a small fire. Low ceilings. Heat rises. A room with a 12-foot ceiling loses heat faster than a room with an 8-foot ceiling, because all the warmth pools at the top, out of reach, wasted. Minimal windows. Old homes in cold climates have small windows, not because glass was expensive, because windows lose heat. Modern homes have walls of glass. Beautiful. Terrible. Central fireplaces. Traditional homes put the fireplace in the center, not on an exterior wall, because a fireplace on an exterior wall sends half its heat outside. A fireplace in the center radiates into the whole house. Your house doesn't have any of this. Your house has thin walls, big windows, high ceilings, open floor plans, and a furnace that stops working the second the grid fails, which means when the grid fails, you're living in a structure that was never meant to keep you warm on its own. It was meant to look good, to be cheap to build, to pass minimum code requirements, not to survive winter without power. So here's what you do. You accept that your house is a thermal disaster and you adapt. You don't try to heat the whole house. You pick one room, the smallest one. You seal it. You insulate it. You make it a pod.
Because your house can't hold heat, but one room can. You stop relying on the structure to save you and you rely on physics. Trapped air, layered insulation, sealed spaces, body heat. The house failed, but you didn't because you understand something most people don't. Your house gets cold fast not because it's broken, but because it was never designed to work without the grid. And now that the grid is gone, the house is just a shell with gaps, a shell with windows, a shell that bleeds heat into the night. But inside that shell, you can build a fortress. One room, one plan, one refusal to freeze. Because the house doesn't keep you warm, you do.